Hi, my name is Jakub Puchalski and I'm part of the Openflow product team. What makes me excited about Openflow is that it has never been easier to ingest multimodal data to Snowflake or your data lake, unify it, and make it ready for AI. Let me show you exactly what it looks like for a real-world use case. A retail chain needs to place an urgent 2.5 million restock order with our supplier, Pacific Fresh Foods, to replenish inventory for Q1. Before approving this spend, we need to assess the risk, but the information is scattered. Transactional data, like past delivery performance and order volumes, lives in Oracle. Compliance documents, like food safety certifications and audit reports, live in SharePoint. With Snowflake Openflow, we bring it all together into one governance boundary. And with Snowflake Intelligence, we can orchestrate agents across our structured tables and unstructured knowledge bases to get a comprehensive risk assessment in seconds. This is our Oracle procurement system. It has 10,000 products, 50,000 purchase orders, 500 suppliers. It's real operational data that drives our retail business. This is the source of truth for our supply chain. I want to replicate this data to Snowflake. In order to do that, what I did is, in the Oracle database, I enabled Extreme API. I ran a few SQL commands to enable transactional logs, redo logs, create a user that Snowflake Openflow will use to authenticate to the Oracle database, and ultimately, I ran a query, a command that actually created a so-called Extreme outbound server, where I declared that I want the entire procurement schema to be available for replication. The last step was to attach this service connect user to the outbound server, which the name of the outbound server is xout1. Next, I moved to Openflow, where I browsed the catalog of existing Openflow connectors. I filtered to databases and selected an Oracle embedded license connector, clicked install and selected a runtime where I actually wanted the connector to be fully installed and operational. The Openflow connector for Oracle has already been installed and configured. It's currently running and completed the replication of all the tables from the procurement schema. Let me show you how I configured it. I'm going to the parameter context, and I'll show you the source parameters. This is the URL of the database that I connected to. This is the connect service user that we previously configured inside the Oracle database. This is the name of the Extreme outbound server that we have also created and configured inside Oracle database. Let me show you how I selected the objects, the tables that I wanted to replicate. So I decided that the destination database schema in Snowflake is going to be DE Connect demo. And then instead of providing a comma-separated list of tables that I want to replicate, I actually wrote a regular expression where I said that I want all tables under the procurement schema except supplier certification and supplier contracts tables, which is something that I don't need in Snowflake. So the procurement schema and the tables that we saw in Oracle have been replicated to Snowflake. Let's check this out. So I'm selecting the table names, and yes, the tables have been fully replicated into a procurement schema in Snowflake, and you can see that the row counts are exactly the same as in Oracle. Let's list all the tables that have been replicated. Here, what I want to draw your attention to is that every table has a corresponding journal table. A journal table is a place where we capture the change events, inserts, updates, and deletes that have been captured by Extreme inside Oracle that were happening inside the source tables. So a source table has a new record, has an updated record or deleted record. Extreme capture process is capturing that event and making it available through an API to Openflow. Openflow is reading that real time and is using Snowpipe streaming to stream it directly to your Snowflake account. The change events land in the journal tables. And afterwards, we're running a merge statement that is taking the latest incremental changes and merging them into the final target tables. Let's see that change data capture process in action. So let's check whether there is something inside the journal table for purchase orders. No, it's currently empty. So we can get back to Oracle. We're going to insert a new demo order for the Pacific Fresh Food supplier for $2.5 million. Let's first check again what was the total count of purchase orders inside Oracle. That was 50,000. Let's now insert a new order and check the count again. It increased by 1, so we have successfully placed a new order through our procurement and transactional system. We can now go to Openflow and see if that new change event has been actually captured and replicated. Let's double-click into the Oracle connector flow. it expands into more process groups. One is responsible for the initial snapshot load. The other one is responsible for change data capture. Let's double click on the incremental load process group and zoom in to see what are the processors and steps that this flow consists of. The first processor, where everything starts from, is called capture change oracle. Let's see if it actually was able to read a change event from an extreme outbound server. So I'm going to view data provenance. And yes, we have just noticed a new create, a new insert operation. Let's see more details. So there is a new record created, and the amount of the new change event created and the amount of records that were included in that new transaction was 1. So this has been captured. I'll query the purchase order journal table again to see if a new change event has been captured. And yes, there is a new record. Let's move to the back and see what is that change event. The change event is incremental insert rows. So Snowflake actually knows that a new record has been inserted and it has already successfully replicated it. Let's check whether the purchase order is in. So that's our new demo purchase order for Pacific Fresh Foods for $2.5 million. That is pending approval and priority is urgent. But should we approve this? To make that decision, we need more than just transactional data. Our supplier compliance documents live in SharePoint. Contracts, certifications, audit reports. Let's have a look at what documents we have stored for Pacific Fresh Foods. So I'm going to our SharePoint repository. You'll see we have different groups of documents. Let's go to certifications and look for Pacific Fresh Foods. And there it is, Pacific Fresh Foods. I'm opening the folder. Okay, we have several certifications there. Let's check the first one. That one is active. What about ISO certificate? Oh, it actually expired. So audit data for Pacific Fresh Foods. Not ideal. The overall recommendation is conditional. So we have audit reports, we have certification documents, but reading through hundreds of pages to assess risk, asking somebody else in the organization to reach out to SharePoint storage and look through the documents to find the information that we need, that's not really practical when you need a quick decision. That is why I have also configured a SharePoint connector. A connector that not only connects to that SharePoint site and replicates all the data that I'm asking it to replicate, but also it actually indexes these documents immediately for Cortex Search and configures a Cortex Search service in the destination schema where we ingest. So let's have a look at the source parameters. You'll see I have entered credentials like client ID and secret, a SharePoint site URL, a tenant ID, and therefore I was able to authenticate. Let's see what I decided to replicate. The file extension that I chose to ingest from SharePoint is PDF, but I could actually choose other document types. The OCR mode that I selected is layout because, as you saw in the documents, we actually have some tables with scoring, with criteria. So I want to make sure that Cortex Search can properly understand the relationships that are captured within a layout of a table. And I defined the SharePoint source folder inside my site to this one. This is where I was actually browsing through all the certification documents, auditing, contract documents. And these were different folders that are under this one. So every nested folder would be replicated by default. We can have a look into Snowflake to see how was this replicated. So I selected the SharePoint docs schema, and inside there should be a Cortex Search service already configured. And it is. It was configured automatically by the connector. So we can see how many document chunks this has created. It's more than 8,000 document chunks. Let's see how many unique documents we have, nearly 2,000. Let's see how the documents look. So these are all the documents that have been moved from the source folder under subfolder, and then name of the supplier, name of the report, and how many chunks we have in the system right now. And we can actually see what are the documents related to Pacific Fresh Foods, our supplier, that are already inside Snowflake. Right? So there's a quality audit, the certification documents, and the master agreement that we have with them. Let's actually check if the audit report that has been fully indexed and parsed into Snowflake mentions these critical findings that we saw. And yes, so you can see that the overall score from the audit is 72 out of 100, so conditional, like we saw in the document. And the severity finding is, there is a critical finding around the missing ISO food safety certification. In order to unify this unstructured data with the previously ingested structured data from Oracle, the procurement data, and make the magic happen, I have configured Cortex Agent. So this is a new Cortex agent called Supplier Risk Agent that I configured by including inside the Cortex Analyst. Cortex Analyst is running on the procurement schema and is basically allowing us to use text-to-SQL type of queries in order to analyze the relational structured data that we replicated from an Oracle database. And also I attached that Cortex search service that is running on the SharePoint docs schema, where we have all the documents from SharePoint, the chunks, the indexing, that will help us ask questions against these PDF documents. The ideal way to leverage this new supplier risk agent is through Snowflake Intelligence. So inside Snowflake Intelligence, I've already selected the supplier risk agent, and I can ask it a question, like, what do we know about Pacific Fresh Food supplier? It's analyzing my request, checking the compliance documents. Now it's executing SQL, which means that it's actually using Cortex Analyst. Oh, so Pacific Fresh Foods presents several significant risk factors. Compliance issues. It actually found the critical finding, the expired ISO certification, and also that the recent audit revealed issues with documentation, temperature monitoring, and employee training. On top, it actually analyzed our structured data from the procurement schema, where it found 3 quality incidents in the last month, 4.2% late delivery rate, and gave us the overall statistics about the number of orders and averaging amount of purchase order. So it actually already provided us a recommendation: place on hold for new orders until the ISO certification is renewed, and we follow up, the verified corrective and verify the corrective actions, and actually better understand the quality incidents that we had with them. So let's be even more direct and ask, should we approve the purchase order demo 001 for $2.5 million from Pacific Fresh Foods? What are the risks? It will probably leverage pretty much similar data to give us the ultimate final answer. It is checking the most recent performance of that supplier to complete the analysis and give us a final recommendation. So based on the recent audit results, the last incidents, it recommends do not approve the purchase order and gives us a summary of all the risk factors that it was able to find across unstructured data, certificates, audit reports, and structured data, which represents the past performance of that supplier. So what did we just see? An Openflow Oracle connector, real-time change data capture replication to Snowflake. An Openflow SharePoint connector that ingested and indexed compliance documents. Cortex Search that made those documents searchable by AI. Cortex Analyst that enabled natural language queries on structured data. And finally, Cortex Agent within Snowflake Intelligence, which combined both to answer complex business questions. This is the power of a unified data platform. No more silos, no more manual research, just intelligent answers when you need them.